All right. I don't know if we're up or not. I have no idea if this is working. Hey, can you guys hear me? Oh my God, that's a lot of people. Hi. Can you all hear me? What's going on? You guys can hear me. How? So I actually purchased a brand new mic and headset. How's the audio? Is the audio okay? I'm hoping that it's good quality. This has a lot of reviews. You may hear feedback from my computer. Loud and clear, okay. Oh man, it's been a long time. You guys know that I've been taking a break from YouTube. Listen, if I'm going to have a public meltdown and tell you guys that I need a break, I've been taking, I think, 3 months off of YouTube, There's nothing worse than somebody who goes through something and then immediately capitalizes on the attention. The way that I looked at it is I kind of wanted to let you all know what I was going through as a healthcare professional, as a person, and then I decided to take some time away. I've been going for 3 months. I've been doing like one video every week, every other 2 weeks or whatever. So I've been good on my word, and I've made sure to take good care of myself. I didn't capitalize on unnecessary attention, just bringing attention to something that we all go through. We all go through depression, anxiety, stuff like that. And instead of constantly, getting attention every single day by making videos, I was like, I got to focus on me. So I took a couple months off, and I'm doing good. I am doing good. I'm in a good place mentally. I'm in a good place physically. I'm kind of getting fat though. My butt is getting huge. All right. Yeah. See, I'm already awkward. I'm getting fat. But anyways, yeah. I've missed you all. I really have. And I've been thinking about the direction of where I'm going to be going with the YouTube and what I'm going to be doing. So the way I looked at it is, it's going to be patient. And I was trying to come out with some game reviews, and then I realized it just takes too much time. And so I was like, hey, you know what? Why don't I do what I want to do? And that is, I want to come out with a podcast where I can just kind of show some clips and talk. And while I'm talking, you guys can see the footage in the back. In the future, this will be a lot bigger, right? But one thing that I have learned about YouTube, all right, I know a lot of you want to do YouTube. You think about coming out with something. First and foremost, you guys know that I will help you out in any way possible. I'm not. It's not because I'm a good guy. It's just that I like to encourage people. And I think that the biggest key of advice that I can give you, I was talking to my girlfriend about this, is that if you want to do something, just jump into it. Don't make it perfect. I'm telling you, don't make it perfect. Because when you try to make it perfect, then you just come up with excuses as to why you can't do it. Like, oh, I don't have a mic, or I don't have this, or I don't know how to video edit, or I don't have an intro. And yo, just jump into it. Do it. Over time, you'll get these things. And I realized, hey, I've been wanting to review some games. I've been wanting to show you all some of my gameplay, and I haven't been able to do it because I've been focusing on trying to make everything so perfect. And then by trying to make things perfect, I have come out with nothing, and I am nowhere near closer to getting any better. I just got to do it. I got to screw up, and I need to get better. It's kind of like having sex. That is so true. That's so true. You got to do it. You got to screw at it. You got to suck at it. And you got to learn how to get better. You can watch all the videos you want, but until you get hands-on experience, this is so inappropriate. I haven't even been on live feed for more than 6 minutes, and I've already screwed up. I've already messed it. All right. So how is yeah, so I'm going to get a better camera. I want that high quality camera. I'm ready to invest $800 to whatever to get a good quality camera, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'm not going to do it right now because I'm sick and tired of making excuses as to why I haven't been coming out with any of the content. So right now you're just watching me play. Right now I'm actually in Master Tier. Master Tier in Call of Duty Mobile is the equivalence of Tier 5 in Identity 5 to a degree. So it's about Tier 5 in Identity 5. So working my way up towards that legendary rank. And I've been solo queuing so I can get better because I don't want to have to rely on my teammates. And you'll see some of the gameplay here. I like Call of Duty Mobile. Now, we're going to be talking about a bunch of things right now. This is not going to just be Call of Duty Mobile. We're going to be talking about Identity 5 as well. It's just I wanted something in the back so you guys could watch. And over time, I'm going to get better at the podcast, and I'm going to be talking about all the games that I've been playing, and we're going to come out with the game reviews. And I'm also absolutely going to shit on all of these pay-to-play games. You guys are going to see a more aggressive Persuadable. You're still going to see the motivational, encouraging Persuadable, but you're going to see my aggressive side. The games that are absolutely a waste of your time, that are utter horseshit, and I'm going to call it out. I'm going to call it out for what it is. By the end of my YouTube career, none of these gaming companies are going to want to work with me. And the reason being so is that I'm going to keep it real. I'm sick and tired of these play-to-pay features. I'm sick and tired of all these YouTubers selling the hell out. They pretend like they're super real, and the minute a company offers them a couple $1,000s, they come out with a video, and then they start acting like this is the greatest video game in the world. And what they do is they actually lie to their own followers so they can get money. Well, the thing about me is that I got an attitude problem sometimes. See, you can still be a positive, loving person and still have a feisty-ass attitude. I got to do it with insurance companies. When insurance companies try to cut my patients off from services, I have to be a jerk about it and be like, oh, really? So when this patient goes home and dies, where would you like me to write within the documentation that you're responsible as an insurance company? This is how I talk in the medical industry. It's how I have to talk to insurance companies. So you have to be aggressive. You have to be abrasive. But it doesn't mean that you're not good. It doesn't mean that you don't have a kind heart. You can be both things. Everybody thinks that being positive and being encouraging means that you have to be a lovey-dovey person that goes out and hugs trees and makes out with them. I've only made out with a tree once in my life. Kidding. Actually, I'm probably sure I've been drunk a few times. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Persuadable at some point has been so intoxicated that he made out with a tree. So I don't want to lie to you all. But I want to come out with these gaming reviews, man. I really do. I think the mobile industry, I think people need to start taking us more seriously. A lot of people like mobile games, and I want to hold these developers accountable. I also want to be able to show you my gameplay. I want to show you my reviews. I want to make jokes about the reviews, but you're going to see an aggressive side. If your video game sucks, I'm going to tell the people your video game sucks, even if you try to tell me that you'll give me $2,000 to say otherwise. Yo, I'm not going to lie. That notification just scared the shit out of me. Whatever notification that was, who was that? Pop pee pee, poo poo pee pee. That just scared me, yo. I didn't know my headset was working, yo. I think I peed a little bit. For those who don't know, I'm not sure if you guys heard that notification, but somebody has followed me, and that it was like, it just peed a little bit. Yeah, okay, so a little bit of pee in my pants. All right, and so that's what I want to do. And I've taken enough time away. I've been very healthy. We're going to talk about Identity 5 in a little bit. And some of these videos will be pre-recorded, and I'll actually release them and not be on a live feed. So anyways, the big thing too, let's see. Let me see. I'm trying to read some of the comments. Yeah, that notification right there just scared the hell out of me. That notification just scared the heck out of me. And so we'll come out with the podcast. We're gonna come out with the videos that I want to talk about. Oh, what's the name of this? Wait a minute. Somebody said they got clickbaited. What's the name of this video? On my platform, I put test podcasts. Oh my god. So YouTube overrode this. Hold on. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. So I have software. How do I update this? Hold on. Yeah, you definitely got clickbaited, dude. I'm sorry. Okay. So for some reason, it says no. In my software, I literally wrote test podcast, and then YouTube put it as Let me see something. Hold on. Look at that. I'm over here being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna review videos. My first video back is clickbait. Fucking awesome. Hold on. What's the video now? Has it refreshed test podcast? Okay, it should be test podcast now. I just canceled out. So anyways, so I'm very sorry about that, guys. So anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to keep practicing the gaming reviews of all of these, all of the games that I've been reviewing. And I'm also going to make sure that the playback video footage is going to have. Yeah, it's a test podcast. I'm sorry. Okay. I also got to fix my lights. My lights are broke. We'll do this. All right, yeah. So what we're also going to do, I think the first video that I'm really going to come out with is a review of Guns of Boom. I'm going to come out with a Guns of Boom um, review. I think Guns of Boom is a garbage video game. I think the developers should be ashamed of themselves. I'm going to give you a good analogy of what it's like to play Guns of Boom. Are you ready? So Guns of Boom is a pay-to-play game, okay? So it's pretty much for very bad Call of Duty players who actually aren't good at video games, but they have a lot of money in real life. So what they do is they go to a pay-to-play game where they always inherently have a competitive advantage against other people. And these people will swear by this game that it's a great game, and they swear by the game because they suck at mobile first-person shooters that actually has an equal level playing field. So what they do is they spend thousands of dollars to get guns that you can't acquire any other way, and then they say, "Oh yeah, no, the game is perfectly balanced." Now, on the other end, if you're somebody who doesn't have money and you play Guns of Boom, here's the best analogy I can give you. It's kind of like being part of a gangbang, right? Where you're the male and you're one of the many dudes, except you have the smallest penis. So guess what? Congratulations, you're competing and you're getting to play with everybody and you're on camera, but guess what? You're completely outcompeted. Your arsenal is significantly smaller than everybody around you. And at the end of the day, although you can go back to your friends and brag about playing, guess what? You still were the least likely person to do any sort of damage. And that is the reality of that video game. And this is going to be my type of rhetoric. Do you understand how frustrated I am with this gaming market? And you're going to get a very raw, unfiltered version of me. You're going to get the raw dog, no lubricant, no condom, use a plastic bag from Walmart because at least it's some sort of form of protection. That's what you're going to get from me. I am so done, so fed up with this industry. I am so fed up with these YouTubers being a bunch of cowards, being a bunch of spineless, and I'm just done. So I'm going to go on here and I'm going to tell you my reviews about every game that I play. And I'm going to be playing 3 to 5 games a week. And I'm going to tell you, hey, this game is a waste of time. And if that's the reality of it, well, guess what? I'm just going to keep it real. I don't care. I'm not playing. I ain't got time for it. I make more than enough money being an occupational therapist. I do not need to go and try to sell myself out on YouTube like all of these other jerks. When all of these developers come out with games, you know what's super pathetic? Here's what's super pathetic. They come out with these Discord servers, and then they give incentives to YouTubers and say, hey, if you come out with a video, I've been part of these Discord servers. If you come out with a favorable video trying to hype your people up, then guess what? Whoever gets the most amount of views will give like $1,000 to. Okay? And that's why all of these YouTubers do it. That's why all they do is hype up these video games. They tell you how excited they are to try the video game. They tell you that it's going to be such a great game. All this stuff. They hype it up. They lie to you. It's like the person that you went to high school with, and then 5 years later they hit you up on Facebook and they're trying to sell you these weird supplements like Herbalife, and they're promising you all these positive benefits and how they're a small business owner, but in reality they're part of this stupid ass pyramid scheme. And that's what this industry has come to. I am so sick and tired of following YouTubers, and then what they do is they turn around, they tell you how much they love you, how much they care about you, how much you mean to them, and then they sell you these garbage video games. Why can't it's kind of like mass school shootings, right? When a mass school shooting happens, right? Why is there never a parent that like just comes out and says, I probably could have expected this shit, right? No parent, no one does. Everyone's, oh my God, I was so surprised. You really? There's no warning signs whatsoever? Like, I'm telling you, if it was like one of my family members, there's more than a few of them where if the press ever came to me, I'd be like, yeah, I knew this shit was going to happen. They're part of me. Our whole family's fucking psycho, right? And it's the same thing with the video games. Why can't I look at the video game and be like, this looks like trash. It looks like a waste of time. It looks pretty. It's like dating somebody who's significantly hotter than you. So you decide to date them because they are harder than you. And then when you actually get to know them, you realize that they're a piece of garbage. But you decide to stick with them anyways because you figure, hey, they're hot. Might as well deal with it. That's like 90% of these video games, and nobody wants to talk about it. They always want to go, oh, this video game looks so great. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Hold on, the cat wants to go out. All right, I got a question. Here we go. Can you guys hear this at all? Is there any footage in this? Maybe I turned the sound off. Like we're gonna do a sneak peek. I know you guys can't hear the sound. We're gonna see if we can get some sound in here. So give me a second. We're gonna stop this. I end up winning that. You got to see this horse crap. Oh, wrong one. Nope, different game.
Hi, Stannis. Hi, Stannis here, Guns of Boom Community Manager.
This garbage. This is the stupidest shit that I've ever heard. You guys, give me a second. We're gonna. Yeah, you don't even know. You don't even know. I am so fired up. I have so much criticism to give all of these people, all of these developers, everything. Hold on one second. Audio input capture. Hold on. Give me a second. This is why it's a test. I need to see something. Nope. So this is why it's a test. I gotta do this. You're gonna hear me freak out. You're about to see me lose my shit. So if you guys are waiting for persuade, you think I already lost it? I haven't lost it. Just wait till you hear this. This is the most utter garbage that I've ever heard in my entire life. All right, hold on. Let's see if you can hear this.
We're here with an important announcement. We're renaming the game. Guns of Boom has always been about competition.
All right, hold on. Get the properties up. I had a feeling that was that very loud because I saw it. All right, give me a second. This is why it's a test run, but what I'm trying to do is so I can hear it too.
Hi, Stannis.
I can't hear it. Oh, you know what? Is it because... It might be because... Oh, I see. I think I know why. No, that's not true. Can you guys still hear me? You guys can still hear me. Let me see if it's on here. I want to be able to hear this guy talk. So this is why it's also a... Wait, how did they get the sound in here? I had the sound in here. Does this still work? Oh, that still works. But then how? Okay, so clearly I'm still trying to figure this all out. So give me a second.
Boom community manager.
No, that doesn't work. But trying to figure this stuff out is stressful. Wait, alright. Hey, YouTube, can you guys hear this? YouTube, can you guys hear this?
Hi, Stennis here, Guns of Boom community manager. We're here with an important announcement. We're renaming the game. Guns of Boom has always been about competition and not about violence.
Okay. I apologize to my fans for what's about to happen. I'm gonna drink some tea. Okay. Very sorry for what you guys are about to see. Alright, so Guns of Boom changed their name to Gods of Boom. Okay? Listen to this, okay? So Guns of Boom is a first-person shooter. You go around, you start shooting people in the face. You know, it's kind of like a Team Fortress. So listen to this.
Hi, Stennis here, Guns of Boom community manager. We're here with an important announcement. We're renaming the game. Guns of Boom has always been about competition and not about violence. In the past year, we downplayed the depiction of violence by replacing kills and headshots with eliminations and perfect aim, and took part in 2 armistice charity campaigns for peaceful gameplay. We chose non-violent competition as our new mainframe, and that's when we realized that our game needed a new symbol, so we gave it a new name, Gods of War. We renamed the game after competition itself, that is reflected in every battle, every series, and every point you win. It is a name you're familiar with from our biggest esports series. It's completely non-violent, and it stands for striving to better yourself and climbing to new heights. And we couldn't think of a better time to do this than during the Season 2 finals. By removing the mention of guns from our name, we placed the focus on the skillful gameplay instead of weapons. It signifies a new era for our game. Guns of Boom will bring you many changes, including a big new PvE feature that we will continue developing together with you. It will also mean a new era for our core gameplay itself, as we are preparing for significant changes that will make our gameplay deeper and more interesting for all of our players. You can expect an all-new feeling of competition that will put your skills to the test in the near future. If you want to learn more, check the link in the description.
That is the stupidest fucking shit that I've ever heard in my entire life. That is the stupidest shit that I've ever heard. Okay, so let's break this down. So this is a game, okay, that is a first-person shooter. It's a first-person shooter game. You shoot people in the face, and you shoot them in the face. You shoot them in the face! And they think that by changing the name from Guns of Boom to Gods of Boom, everything is fine. So to give you a little bit of background, Guns of Boom thinks that if they change their name to Gods of Boom, and they also change some of the names in the game. So instead of calling it a headshot, they call it a perfect shot. All right? So they just change up the language. They're trying to say that by changing the name of the game, it's going to do anything. So we're going to break this down.
Hi, Stennis here, Guns of Boom community manager. We're here with an important announcement. We're renaming the game. Guns of Boom has always been about competition and not about violence.
We've always been about competition and not about violence. Bro, you made a game where you shoot people in the face. How are you going to tell me that's not violent, right? That's like going to a brothel every day and having sex with prostitutes, but saying that your life mission is to only find one woman so you can marry her. Well, it makes no sense. Like, just call it for what it is. You having a good time, right? And that's what this is. That is literally a violent video game. Okay, so let's.
In the past year, we downplayed the depiction of violence by replacing kills and headshots with eliminations and perfect aim.
So instead, so you still shoot people in the face, and you still get pleasure from shooting people in the face. But instead of calling it shooting people in the face, we're going to call it something different. And if we call it something different, it's therefore a heck of a lot better. I believe we call this a euphemism, right? Instead of calling it for what it is, we call it something different. And therefore, by calling it something different, we can therefore come to key terms with understanding that it's acceptable behavior. This is absolutely ridiculous, okay? It's like saying this is the bad example, all right? And I don't ever make sexual assault jokes. But it's like saying, "Oh, that person didn't rape that person. That person just forced snuggled them." It's not even funny. I'm not even being funny. Instead of calling it for what it is, you're coming up with a euphemism to make it seem like it's something less than what objectively happened. You can call this an elimination, but you're still killing them. You can call it perfect aim, but it's still a headshot. Now, here's what drives me nuts. This is what drives me nuts, and I'm being absolutely honest with you, okay? And again, I'm not making a joke. I'm saying for what it is. You cannot take something that's objectively what it is, rename it, and act like it's anything better because what's objectively happening is what's objectively happening. And they soften up the words to take a. All right, here's my problem. All right, and that's as ballsy as I'm going to get. That's very ballsy for me to do something like that, okay? What I don't like about this is that as somebody who has conducted research, okay, there is no evidence. There is no evidence that video games actually increases the likelihood of you being violent and aggressive. The only research that's out there that suggests it, some of the most, the research, if you will, that's super flimsy, but suggests that this actually occurs, has very, very flawed methodology. Okay? Very flawed methodology. If you go to the American Psychology Association, if you go to any of these big websites, a lot of these organizations have made it very clear that the overwhelming substantial evidence suggests that video game usage does not increase aggressive behavior. Can it increase aggressive behavior in some people? Probably such an insignificant amount of the population that you can't genuinely presume that therefore nobody can play violent video games because it's leading to an epidemic. I don't know the statistics of how many people play video games, but there's literally millions, hundreds of millions of people who play video games, all right? And if you have 2 or 3 people who go out there and act violent and act like an idiot, okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's because of video games. In research, there's a difference between correlation and cause and effect. I can measure 2 relationships and see if there is a pattern, but it doesn't mean it's cause and effect. As an example, okay, let me give you an example. If I ask every single person who listens to jazz music, okay, how often they eat hamburgers, and we see that a whole bunch of people who listen to jazz music eat more hamburgers than everybody else, we can therefore say there is a correlation between people who listen to jazz and how much they eat hamburgers, okay? So we can say there is a relationship out there. People who listen to jazz, they're eating more hamburgers. That is a correlation. But that doesn't mean it's cause and effect. So that doesn't mean that because you listen to jazz music, you are more likely to eat a hamburger. That is not cause and effect. It just means it's a relationship. Correlations are different from cause and effect. The problem with this company is that they're changing up the name of an industry of their video game, thinking that it's going to do anything. They're saying we're not going to focus on violence. Well, my problem with this is that even if you do focus on violence, who cares? The research is very clear that it's not going to increase aggressive behaviors. So then the question really comes down to, why are you changing the name? And the reason why they're changing the name is because of politics. They're not changing the name because of empirical evidence. This is not science. This is not research. There should be no scientific academic out there, including myself, who would ever suggest that this is an okay move, because it does nothing. The research is clear that video games are not leading to more violent, aggressive tendencies. It's really out there. And if it does, it's such an insignificant amount of the population that it's not statistically relevant to tell people don't let people play video games. Sure, monitor what your children are doing for your parental philosophies, but it does so changing the name is doing nothing. It's not doing anything. This is the stupidest thing that I have seen because there's no empirical evidence behind it. What is the point? Guys, it's a video game where you shoot people in the face. You shoot. If you're that worried about violence, then delete your video game. They should delete the video game anyway because it's pay-to-play garbage. That's a real. Why don't they come out with a video saying we're very sorry for making such a pay-to-play win game that within the last 2 years our player base went from 90,000 all the way down to 13,000? How about you look at the statistics and ask yourself why is the player base consistently disintegrating? And the player base is disintegrating because you're not listening to your players. Instead of trying to make the game more balanced, stop making it a pay-to-play game. You can literally invest $1,000 into this game and still not have all of the good equipment. The fundamental equilibrium of this game is fundamentally flawed, and not everybody enjoys it, and people are leaving the game. And you can say that I'm being overcritical and hyperbolic, but when you look at your numbers, who's losing the numbers, boo-boo?
And took part in 2 armistice charity campaigns for peaceful gameplay. We chose non-violent competition as our new mainframe.
You're a game that shoots people in the face. How are you going to tell me it's not? Do you know what the definition of violence is? This is some how do you take a first-person shooter and say, hey guys, there's a whole bunch of shooting people in the face, but we call it something different now. We call it Gods of Boom, so everything is fine. Tell me right now, am I losing it? Is this where we're at now? Is this where we're at? Can somebody tell me, am I losing it? Am I off the rails here? Am I off the rails here? Am I the only one that thinks this is the stupidest stuff I've ever heard? Because, all right. Maybe I shouldn't ask you if I'm off the rails. Of course I'm off the rails. All right? But this is nonsense. This is nonsense. Changing the name of the game and now it's non-violent.
And that's when we realized that our game needed a new symbol. So we gave it a new name, Gods of Boom. We renamed the game after competition itself that is reflected in every battle, every series, and every point you win.
So Gods of Boom reflects competition. Well, I think we should all write to them. We should all say we're offended because you're using the word gods, right? And that goes against I'm making stuff up, guys. I'm not really believing this. It's just garbage. It doesn't change anything. There's no empirical science. There's no research. There's no validity. There's no reliability. This change is based on the political stigma. This isn't about I'm watching the comments right now. I'm really asking you all to educate me. Educate me. I'm serious. How does changing the name of this make it any less violent? I'm asking you. Somebody educate me here. You know what I got to do with this podcast? I got to make it so people can come on here and talk with me. Maybe y'all can be my therapist. Because I think I need one. First of all, this game is pay-to-play garbage. Second of all, it just makes guys. It's one thing if the research was yes, violent video games are detrimental, they're awful. We know video games have negative health implications. We know that the DSM-5 is called for video game addiction to be studied. Okay, the DSM-5 is the Bible, if you so to speak, for mental illnesses and all that stuff. When you go and get diagnosed with ADHD, they look at the DSM-5 for instance. So the DSM-5 is what we use when we look at mental health and conditions. We know that the DSM-5 that came out in 2013, it asks for independent studying of video game addiction, just like gambling addiction. And I can tell you as a clinician that I've had patients with video game addiction, so I'm looking forward to that being classified in the next DSM, which will probably come out. It came out in 2013, I think, so it's probably due by 2023. It's a very real thing. You have kids who are not taking showers. You have kids who are not eating. They're skipping meals. There are lots of social anxiety and depression linked to excessive video game use. Those are all good conversations. I am both. I am both a clinician and an avid video gamer. But what I can tell you, okay, is that there are genuinely real health concerns. The sedentary behavior, sitting down too much, lack of physical activity. These are all real things. But there is no research that shows that video games are actually effectively considered to be detrimental in terms of violence and aggression. All right. And then furthermore, you have to try to alienate that from normal sorts of agents of socialization. That's what we would refer to them as. That would lead to increased anger, such as the media and peer interactions, right? So why is it any different, okay? So anyways, my point is that there's no empirical research. There's no science. This is not based on science. So you're taking a violent video game and you're renaming it. You're renaming it, and then you think that you're taking away from the violence. Why? You're rebranding it. How is Gods of Boom reflects competition? I'm looking at the comments right now. Can somebody tell me how Gods of Boom, objectively speaking, changes the nature of competition from Gods of Boom to Guns of Boom? Can somebody tell me how the name reflects competition? Maybe if you win, you're now a god? What's going on, Honey Bad? I see you all. What's going on, Untitled Panda? What's going on, Catch007? And my point is, Persuade should go back in his trash can and yell at Elmo. Hey, Cats, I'll go back in my trash can if you go back to your trash cowboy in Identity 5. Then we can speak as equals. So, I miss you, Cats. Oh, God. So anyway, yeah, you're gonna get salty on that one. Yeah. Cats. I'll tell you what happened with Cats. He watched Toy Story. And let's just say Woody, no pun intended. So now he plays cowboy in Identity 5. Buzz Lightyear was too good for him. Yeah. Anyway, so this is garbage.
As a name you're familiar with from our biggest esports series, it's completely non-violent.
All right, so can we talk about? So it's not completely non-violent. That's a lie. Okay, it's like saying that you don't like chicken fetus, but you're willing to eat eggs. Okay. Second of all, the esports, they have it. Can you imagine that they actually have an esports league? They have an esports league. It is so pathetic. Now, not the competitors. I actually envy the competitors. You guys know I have a lot of respect for the esports competition circuit, especially being part of the Identity 5 sort of mainframe. I know the amount of stress and time and dedication that puts into it. They have a sports league, and I don't understand how they have a sports league because, all right, so let's take something like Call of Duty. Let's take something like Mobile Legends. Let's take something like Rules of Survival. Let's take something like even Identity 5. You can even take something like Dead by Daylight. Okay, you can take League of Legends. You can take Dota 2. You can take Fortnite, right? All of these video games, one thing that they have in common is that you really don't have too much of a competitive advantage over others. For the most part, minus some minor technicalities, everybody eventually has access to the same stuff, okay? And they have access pretty much to the same stuff. Yeah, you have to level your character up. Yeah, you have to grind a little bit to get the characters. But at the end of the day, everybody is pretty much on even playing field, okay? Just some people have better tactics than you, and it can annoy the heck out of us, okay? Let's be real, all right? This game is kind of like a Clash of Clans. It's kind of a game where the more money you spend, the more advantages that you have. And then if you want to grind it naturally, where everybody's like, whoa, yeah, you can do it the free route, you'll be playing a game for at least 6 months to an entire year, being significantly disadvantaged from all angles, and then maybe you'll be able to catch up. It's really difficult. It's really hard. And at the point, it's not worth it. That's where developers need to come into play, and they need to figure out their marketable aspect of their business aspect, or rather, let me put that in a different phrase. Let me phrase that differently. I understand that by paying, you can get some competitive advantages, but if the competitive advantage is disproportionate to the pay-to-play component, then it is not worth playing. If the higher tiers is only based on the amount of money you've invested in a game, it is a pay-to-play game. Okay? Whereas, like Call of Duty, yeah, you can pay like $5 and get a gun a lot faster, a good gun that you could have grinded up naturally, and it wouldn't take you too long. Nothing that's statistically insignificant. Okay, this game, I don't know how it has an esports league because I'm in the highest tier possible. I am tier 6 in this game, like you would in Identity 5. So I am a champion level in this game. And I don't have anywhere near the same equipment as the top competitors. They have helmets that will let you see all of your enemies for 7 seconds. I don't have access to it. And when an event comes out, unless you can play 18 hours a day for that event, you're not going to be able to max it out. You're not going to be able to get it. And then they expect you to pay. And then if you do get it, you have to max out the stats, which takes a lot of time and money. And so even if you don't max it out, then you're going to have to wait for another event, which could be another 3 to 6 months before that comes out, in the same thing. So it's pretty much like, oh, the event's finally out, now I'm going to spend money to get it. So everything about their business model is about spending money, all right? So I don't know how they have an esports league, because the esports league is, in my opinion, for their game, relatively pathetic, because it's based on people who have access to guns that they either paid for or they played for 3-4 years and have slowly grinded over time. And when you go to their YouTube, right? If I go to their YouTube right now, let me go to their YouTube. Hold on, let me see this right now. I'm pretty sure that me as a small-time YouTuber have more views on some of my videos than they do as an entire brand for their esports circuit. Now, mind you, this is a game that used to be one of the top games in the world. Okay? And they're rapidly losing players. And they're losing players because they're not listening to them. So if you look at the Pro Series Final 2, let me see where it is at. Their final game, the season that's supposed to take it all out, all right, got 52,000 views. All right, now on the app marketplace, they say that they get millions of views worldwide. So they probably look at Facebook, they probably look at Twitter if they have it. They may even have different languages on YouTube. So I don't doubt it. Okay, but the US version, they have 52,000 views. Identity 5, when I emceed Identity 5, the US market. Now you guys know that the Identity 5 market is kind of hurting in the US market. The day one video received over 100,000 views in the first week. Okay, so if you think that the Identity 5 U.S. market was hurting, just that kind of puts into perspective where the boom is at. Okay, and what I'm really upset with them is that it's such a pay-to-play garbage game. It's actually relatively fun. That's what's disastrous, is that I wish it was a garbage game and garbage gameplay, because then I could easily tell you don't play the game. But the game is fun. It's a fun game. But they have a shitty business model, and I don't agree with the business model. And then one of their developers once said, well, how do you expect us to make money? Well, it's like, well, Fortnite did it. Identity 5 did it. Dota 2 did it. Well, okay, let's stick to mobile games. Rules of Survival did it. Identity 5 did it. I may have already mentioned them. Plenty of games that don't give you a big competitive advantage over others have done it. Now you may say, well, it's different games. Okay. Well, what about Call of Duty Mobile? What about PUBG? What about Rules of Survival? Why are all of these third and first person games figured out ways to do it, but you can't? So it's not that you can't, it's that you lack the business integrity or the intuitive business mindset to get it done. And so what happens is that you have these developers who have tried to normalize this. They look at this and say, hey, guys, we have to give people who spend money this big strategy, this big competitive advantage, because how are we going to make money? We're giving you a free game. Okay, you can give something that's free to people, that sucks, and that's what's happening here, right? So just because you're giving me something free doesn't necessarily mean that I like it. Doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with it. And that's what they do. They give you a free video game and then they make it look like they're the ones who are altruistic and holistic. They're the ones who are like, well, we're doing you a big advantage. We're doing you a big favor. No, you're not. Because if you made people pay for the game, then people wouldn't pay for it because the entire business structure is fundamentally based on a free-to-play game that if you actually forced people to pay money to it, nobody would because of the pay-to-play features. So you have developed the pay-to-play features based on the presumption that you provide it for free. That's very important. You did not provide it for free under altruism. You provided it for free because you have so much pay-to-play garbage in it that you provided it for free because you know that the pay-to-play garbage will actually incentivize you. You didn't do anyone a favor. You didn't do me a favor. That's usually not how capitalism works. You're not doing us a favor, and you're pretending like you're this altruistic company as if you're doing the world a favor. You're not. Your entire business structure is based on giving something for free so you can incentivize your business by regaining massive amounts of profit by giving people a ridiculous amount of incentives for giving money that gets other people at a disadvantage strategically. And when you tell me, well, what else are we supposed to do? I don't know. How about you look at the other people who are smarter than you, who are making more money than you, whose video games are much more alive than yours, all right? Because you're getting a bad reputation. And we all know that as game companies do this, they may be making short-term profit, but in the long term, there is a lot of hate for these companies that do this. There's a lot of people rebelling on all of these developers who are doing these sort of nasty things with their video games. And sure, they keep collecting profit, but I think we can all agree that collectively, a lot of video gamers are getting more and more pissed off. And you can only poke the bear so much until it bites you, until people start rebelling. Rebellion does not happen right away. You need to milk people. You need to put them through misery. You need to pretty much strip their humanity away until they get so fed up. That's when people organize. And the gaming industry has gotten away with it for a very long time, but more and more people are starting to organize. There's actually a video game coming out. I'm going to do a video on it. There's a video game coming out, and the developers have acknowledged that the pay-to-win features of mobile games are destructive. And they promise that when their video game comes out, there'll be ways to ways to pay for things, but nothing that will actually destroy PvP and will actually give people catastrophic. Actually, what this company said, I forgot the name of the video game. They actually believe that if people invest in their game, it's because they believe in the game and that they're doing a good job. And that's their way of measuring that the game is worth it and that they're providing all of this sort of competitive fair gameplay. And now companies are starting to come out with this. There are companies who are now saying we're making a game that will have features where you can spend money, but it's not going to destroy the equilibrium of the game. My question is that if all of my criticism of this video game is completely out of left field and no one knows what I'm talking about and nobody understands everything that I'm saying in regards to the collective unconscious, the collective conscious as well, regarding how crappy this business model is, then why are there new developers coming out or developers with new games acknowledging it? They're nipping it in the bud, and I'm going to hold these companies accountable. If you tell me that the pay-to-win aspect of the game isn't going to exist, okay, I'll cover it on my channel. But then I'm going to hold you accountable. I'll tell people the developers are saying pay-to-win will not be a feature. Okay? But when it comes out and we analyze it and we see it, we're going to hold you accountable. I got a lot of attitude. I got a lot of feistiness. As you guys have been able to tell through this podcast, this test podcast, I have a lot of energy. And I'm fed up with this stuff. I'm fed up with all of this. I'm fed up with people wasting a month of their time playing a video game where you play against bots and then you play against other players who haven't invested any money. And then they start slowly integrating the players who put a $5 into that welcome package, who has that gun that shoots faster than you, which makes you want to spend the $5. But then when you spend the $5 and you win for a couple of days, now you're going to face the guy who spent $10. And there's no way for you to beat him unless you spend the $10. Or you can spend 2 weeks to get what he got. So now what you're going to do is spending time playing a game at a disadvantage. Who wants to play a game where they're inherently always consistently at a disadvantage? It's like dating somebody toxic in your relationship. How long are you going to keep chasing at nothing until you realize that you're never going to have something until you get rid of the nothing? That's my opinion. Yeah, I'm fired up. I really am. And we're going to keep coming out with our consensus here.
And it stands for striving to better yourself and climbing to new heights. And we couldn't think of a better time to do this than during the Season 2 finals.
They're probably doing it because they're losing so many players that they think that by rebranding the name, it'll possibly attract new players. Because if you change the name, then in a weird way, it kind of suggests that you're making changes to the games, preferably the changes that people are asking for, but the changes are regarding balance and pay to play that you haven't acknowledged. So instead, you change the name, and by doing so, it looks like you're doing a lot for the game when in reality, you're doing nothing. And political bonus points for those who actually think that changing the name is actually going to do anything for your population.
By removing the mention of guns from our name, we place the focus on the skillful gameplay.
How is it skillful when really all it comes down to is how much money you spend? Sure, I can kill the guy with the better gun, but it's a hell of a lot easier for him to kill me where he just spams a button.
Instead of weapons, it signifies a new era for our game. Gods of Boom will bring you many changes, including a big new PvE feature that we will continue developing together with you.
No, I don't think anyone. I don't think anyone asked for a PvE feature. It's pretty cool. Now I'm being a little cynical. I'll say, hey, if people want PvE, that's great. But how about you acknowledge the real crux of this, where people are tired of the Barracuda. People are tired of these weapons that are overpowered and that you cannot gather unless you're playing during an event, which takes way too long to grind. And so you allow people to just spend $1,000 so they can get the weapons.
It will also mean a new era for our core gameplay itself, as we are preparing for significant changes that will make our gameplay deeper and more interesting for all of our players.
So you can actually do those things without changing the name. So what they're essentially implying is that we need to change the game's name in order to change the rest of the things. Why? Changing the game name doesn't mean that you've changed any of the things that you say you're going to do it. You can do all of those things instead of changing the name. But instead, you focused on changing the name, so all of the other things that we're waiting for are now waiting in limbo because you're spending too much time trying to rebrand your entire video game. I mean, it's just such a waste of resources.
You can expect an all-new feeling of competition that will put your skills to the test.
So in this entire thing, he talks about competition, putting your skills to the test. We're going to make changes, and hasn't said a single damn thing about how he's going to do any of that. These are all empty promises. They haven't actually given one thing in this entire video about what they're going to change, how they're going to do it. All they're saying is that these things are starting to be acknowledged because we changed the name of the game. But by changing the name of the game again, they didn't acknowledge any of these things. At what point are you going to give us some sort of proof? At what point are you going to say, hey, we're going to look at the guns. Hey, we're going to make these guns more accessible to people. Hey, we're going to actually do this. You're not giving me anything tangible. You're just saying what you're going to do. It's kind of like again, I'm going to use the relationship advice. It's kind of like somebody who says that they're going to date you, but you got to give me time, and it's going to happen. Well, when you just going to leave me in limbo? Going to leave me hanging?
In the near future.
This is garbage.
If you want to learn more, check the link in the description.
No, I don't want to learn more. I want the 1 minute and 51 seconds of my life back watching this. So yeah. Anyways, don't play Gods of Boom. It's garbage. No, don't play it. It's a waste of time. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick things apart. I'm going to tell you guys which video games are worth it. I'm buying all the video games that cost money too. So I'm taking a big hit doing this. But I'm going to tell you, hey, this game is worth the $2. Or hey, this game is not worth the $2. Or this game's worth the $10. So this is just my first podcast. The thing is that I came out with an actual positive one with Call of Duty Mobile. I think Call of Duty Mobile actually did a lot of things correct. Is it perfect? No. I think a lot of companies need to take away from their business model. And then I was like, all right, I don't want people to think. First of all, I never talked to the developers of Call of Duty Mobile. I have no communication with them, so I receive no incentives to do any of these videos. I lose money doing these videos, but I like doing it, so I'm going to continue doing it, okay? But I was like, all right, I started my channel off on a positive note, but I want you to see the more aggressive side. All right. And that's what I'm going to do. You're going to see these reviews, and we're going to do this at a podcast standpoint. I don't have time to cut up the videos. I don't have time to make things pretty. So we're just going to go absolutely ham. My sexual innuendos are going to be there at all times. My humor is going to be out there at all times. I did tell YouTube that this is not made for kids. So I'm going to make it so I have that inappropriate sense of humor because I think it's funny. I really do. I think it's funny. And I think that this is what's going to happen. Identity 5, I'll absolutely return to. I have problems with the Identity 5. I mean, do you guys want me to talk about Identity 5? I can tell you the problems with Identity 5 and be objective. I can tell you that Identity 5 has been one of the most positive influences on my life while objectively telling you what Identity 5 sucks in our market. If you would like to know, say yes. If you would like me to shut the hell up, you can say no. We can call it a day. We'll come back a different day. And we'll start coming out with the videos. Do you want me to talk? I have no problem talking about it. I can tell you what's wrong with Identity 5. So let's talk about. You guys want to hear about Identity 5? So let's be objective about this. So I think the best way that we could start it off is by being positive and then get into the reality of things. Okay. Being positive, Identity 5 has been one of the best things that has ever happened in my life. I was a top 100 PUBG Mobile player, and then I quit PUBG Mobile and I started playing Identity 5. And then I've never played, and I was awful at Identity 5 for the first like 2 weeks or so. I mean, I got my butt kicked. There were a lot of players who were in the high tiers that didn't want to play with me. Um, and I was like, I'm gonna get so filthy at this game. I spent like 16 hours a day playing Identity 5, and I got really good at it. I won the first U.S. competition. It was a solo mode competition. I won the first competition. Whenever somebody's like, "Oh, persuadable," well, why haven't you competed? I did. I won the only solo tournament ever in Identity 5, and so by playing Identity 5, I have met some of the greatest people. I've met my girlfriend. I've met a lot of you. I actually know your screen names. Like when I see Gigawatt, when I see these people commenting, like I know who you are. Excuse me. That was gross. My Discord has over 4,000 members, right? I have an incredible amount of support. And it started off as a joke, just coming out with advice, and then it got more and more serious, and we got better with the quality, and we were just trying to make a difference and be positive, be competitive, but be positive. Sometimes it's very easy to be negative with that game, and there were times where I fell for that. And then I had to study for my board, so I had to step away from the video game, and I became an occupational therapist, and I was still, reviewing the gameplay, still trying to find a job, and had a very healthy relationship with the development team. We came out with the first October tournament that was part of the Persuadable team. We actually helped form the rules. People don't know that. We formed the rules. Like when the devs first contacted me, they actually wanted to make it based on how many points you gained, like the in-game point system, like when you got points for escaping, like all that. And we said that could be abused too much. So we actually shaped how the U.S. market's entire tournament gameplay would be played, and that trickled down to the nationals. We came out with the escapes and victories, so the Persuadable team came out with that. And then they came out with the regionals, and I couldn't make that because of my job, and then I went to the finals. And I was very stressed by then because I felt like I needed to prove myself by climbing the leaderboards again, but I just didn't have enough time. The rank sessions were too small, just didn't have a lot of time, and I was trying to manage the YouTube. And so anyways, fast forward, I was supposed to go to Thailand. You guys know that I was mentally exhausted. I went through massive anxiety attacks. I couldn't make it in Thailand. And I don't think they purposely meant to do it, but I'm part of like an MC chat with them on WeChat. And because I couldn't make it to Thailand, they kicked me out of the chat. They didn't even talk to me. They just kicked me out of the chat. And that kind of left me a little bitter. because maybe it's a cultural difference. I don't know, but I couldn't make it, and I felt bad because they couldn't get reimbursed for their plane ticket. But at the same time, I mean, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but they're a multi-million-dollar company. I was clearly going through some stuff. I was out of my real life work for a little bit to gather myself. Anyways, back to Identity 5. Here's the problem with the market. The problem is that the game is so big in China, okay? It's so big in Japan. It's so big in these other countries. I mean, it's like Fortnite big over there. That in our market, we're a very tiny market. We're almost insignificant. And what bothers me is that the balance of the game, and I understand where they're coming from. I do. Let me plug this in so I don't gotta hold this thing. I feel awkward.
One summer not signed. I'm quite surprised this is the team they wanted to choose, but I assume fair enough Military Warehouse has been banned by its next big move to try and step.
Has that been playing the whole time? Okay. Anyways, so there's a big market, and what bothers me is that objectively speaking, we don't actually really have a say. And we don't actually have a say in terms of the overall market. We're such a small market compared to the rest of the world that if we have balance concerns, we don't really have any input or feedback. And let me tell you why this bothers me, okay? The reason why this bothers me is because we receive nerfs and buffs from other servers who complain about hunters that are a problem. We've seen like Mad Eyes buffs and nerfs. We've seen Dream Witch buffs and nerfs. We've seen all these characters change, even if those characters are not a problem on our server. Now, I understand the logic behind it. I understand the logic because it's all about making your player base happy. And I understand why those markets will always have the ultimate set. Because you want to make them happy because that's where the majority of your consumers are. But then what it really makes me realize is that our market, we invest all this money, we support them, and I feel like we do them more favors than what they do us. We don't receive exclusive items. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Has there ever been an exclusive item on our server that no other server got? Because I'm pretty sure that there's exclusive items from the other servers that we have not received. We have to share a server in Europe, so Europe can't even play this game with good ping. So now you're talking about players who don't receive any specialized incentives. We received one tournament during the summer. Some of the Chinese players received several tournaments throughout the years. We received no special items, whereas several servers received more items than what we do. If actually we receive none and they receive some. Those servers have better ping, so we invest our money in a game, even when we have horrible ping, and they have not invested any money in a new server. They tell us how much they care about us, yet no exclusive items, barely any exclusive tournaments. We receive one a year, whereas other servers receive more, and we still have not received any actual investment in different servers to make the game more compatible for our player base. Most people quit the game because people don't want to deal with the ping. And then when people quit the game, it increases queue time. I think if we look at this objectively, we see a dying server where they're going to milk as much as what they can from it. And it's not like they're releasing this content for us. All of that content development is based on other servers. And we're pretty much like the redheaded stepchild that we kind of keep into arm's reach and occasionally give them things, and then we say we're not a bad parent because we still give them things, but yet we absolutely ignore their emotional and physical needs. Newsflash, you can't just give that stepchild some items and disregard their mental and physical health and call yourself a good parent just because you give them something that you actually got for somebody else. And that's what I feel our server has become, Schmitty. Okay? That is what I feel our server. If anyone would like to correct me, please do so. I am not a god. I come on here and give you my objective analysis. That's why you guys come to me, okay? And I try to be as objective as possible. But again, no investment in servers. So don't tell me you care about us when we've actually seen nothing tangible that suggests that you care about us. So no extra servers, still long obnoxious queue times, no exclusive costumes or skins because you make them for all the other servers and they receive them and we don't. And we've only received one US tournament, and from my sources, the dev teams were disappointed by that. Well, you're disappointed by that because people are quitting the game because they're so fed up with it because they feel disregarded. At some point, when do you stop blaming the consumer and look at your own stuff and say, what are we doing wrong? Gods of Boom haven't learned and their game is dying. So you have a choice. You listen to the consumer, you don't, and you're not. So that's where I feel really where it's at. There has been no investment in the servers. There's been no investment. Everybody says they care about you. Well, then your actions speak louder. I would like this one thing. I challenge my entire audience right now. I challenge you guys. Can you name? I'm serious. Please correct me. I'm not being condescending. And I'm not even going to be argumentative. I am asking for your input. Can one person tell me one thing that the devs have done for our server, only our server, that makes you feel like they care for us? We have never even gotten an interview with the development team other than Grizzly and I going and talking to them in person. We have never even gotten a question and answer. China gets question and answer sessions all the time where people get to ask questions to the devs and the devs answer them. Have we ever gotten that? I'm not being rhetorical. I'm asking all of you. We got 58 viewers right now. One of you come out with something. I understand why. I am not saying it's illogical because that's where the big market is. But I'm saying that as somebody in this market that feels disregarded, I am not obligated to be okay with it. I understand why you're doing it, but we do not benefit from that. So therefore, because I understand why you do it from a financial aspect, that doesn't mean that I need to be okay with it because we receive the burden of that choice. Whenever there's a choice, somebody feels the burden of it. And you can still disagree with the choice even if it's a good business strategy simply because it's affecting you as a consumer. So if you don't want to invest in our server with the ridiculous amounts of money that people spend on you to support you, despite the shitty server, despite the shitty ping, despite no exclusive, we still support you. At some point, I can say I no longer want to hold the responsibility and burden of keeping the community together. And as a consumer, I can say I get where you're coming from, but I don't want to feel responsible for keeping your game alive. Therefore, I'm not going to. Sorry if the stream is buffering. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I welcome it. Nobody has done so because you guys all acknowledge it. We all understand this. Come on. You all understand it. You guys aren't out of the realm here. You get it. You know it. You know that this is the reality of things. IDV being a free game, I think it's right. They take 60% of our money, but they should put the rest on our market, not just give it away to Asia server. It is a free game. And the money that's made here should have, the money they have to, the profit, the problem is the profit margin, right? This is where it always comes down to capitalism. If you as a company you spend a lot of money to develop this game, right? You want to make that money back. So it costs you something to make something, and then you make a profit. The profit margin would be that difference. So my point is that I think Amazon said it a long time ago. I'm going to sum this up, right? If you buy a stapler for 20 cents and you sell it for $10, okay? So the stapler costs you 20 cents, but you send it for $10. And you make that profit. And you say, well, I got to make a profit. We're a company. We have all these expenses. What happens is that you got to be worried about the person who buys that stapler for $1 from the same person, even if they spend more than you, but then only spends $4 or sells it for $4. They'll make less money than you, but they're more likely to sell some of their objects because they're substantially cheaper than you. All right. My point is that even if they make a good amount of money of ours, the question is how profitable is it? Because if it's, let's say if they're making a couple $1 million, well, how much money? So yeah, invested in new servers would theoretically mean that you're not as profitable, but it doesn't mean that you're not profitable, and it doesn't mean that you're not worth running the business. So what you have is when you have a company that is so worried about how much money they can make in regards to that profit margin, how much profit they can make, and then you don't invest in anything, well, then you can't consider it really innovative. And they can get away with it because they're innovating for the other markets, and we're seeing the trickle-down effects, right? But the reason why the game hasn't blown up like it has is because they never invested in it. They looked at the market and said, hey, it's not worth it. Let's milk it for as much as we can. That's what we are. We're the lab rats. That's what we are. Because out of a year of this game, a year and a half now, why has there been no investment in servers? You guys all know that everybody is talking about ping. When do we hold them accountable? I'm not even asking them to give us more tournaments. I'm not asking them to give us exclusive content. I'm asking them to make the game playable. You have people who are in Europe who can't even play the game like us in the United States because of the lack of servers. I think we have 2 servers in the United States. 2. I think one is based in like California and one's in New York or something. I think we have 2 servers in the whole state. Whole country, rather. And so here's the thing. I can make these comments about Identity 5 and still like Identity 5. I can still like them as people behind the scenes. I don't have to crap on them. I don't have to tell them that they're bad people. I can just say, hey, I like you guys. I like the game that you created, but we have some differences. And I don't agree with your vision of what you're doing with this game. Because you say you care about us, you've heard about ping for a year and a half, and you have done nothing about it. And you've been lucky because no one has held you accountable. And that's why when people are like, Persuadable, we want to see you be MC for the next Call of Abyss, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't think they're going to invite me. I've been so critical, but I should say that they've never punished me for my opinions. They have never punished me for my opinions. And that's what I have liked about them. That's why me and them have always had a good relationship. Because I could say what I want as long as I'm relatively respectful. And I think I'm being relatively respectful right now. That doesn't mean that I'm telling people not to play the game. It's not like I'm calling for people to quit the game. I wouldn't do that. I have never asked anybody to quit the game. That is not what I want to use my platform for. I'll use my platform to tell you my opinion and my objective analysis, and that's it. I'll say, hey, I don't like where the shape of this game is going. I'm not going to play it as much, and I haven't played it as much. I haven't made videos to tell people you guys need to follow me. We need to boycott NetE. I didn't say any of that garbage. So if they invite me to the next Call of Abyss, I don't know what I'll do, to be honest with you. I don't know what I'll do. But I do know one thing. My integrity for objective analysis is way more important, and I don't want to get caught up in the idea that I'm not allowed to be objective based on the presumption that, hey, by being objective, they're not going to invite me for Call of Abyss, so now I have to cater to them so I can remain relevant. I'm not doing that anymore. And I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep it real, and I'm going to be honest in terms of my opinions in regards to these games. But this is where the podcast is going to come. I think in the future what we'll do is maybe even have Discord up, maybe have a guest once in a while. because I think it would be better to have a guest come on, and I think it would be good to have communication with these guest players, and talk to people about these reviews. But you are going to see my reviews about all these games. I've been playing a lot of games. I know it may not seem like it. I know I've been absent, but I've been doing a hell of a lot of work. Um, I even bought one of these. I just bought this microphone. I just bought this headset. It was heavily reviewed as something pretty good. I bought this. I have a microphone that can plug into my iPad, so when I do my reviews, the content is a heck of a lot better. And I've been playing a whole bunch of games. I've been playing Overdocs. I've been playing all these games. The big thing that I want to do next is invest in a camera to get that real, like, sharp, high quality, like real high quality imagery or video. Yeah, I've been playing Call of Duty Mobile. My iPad is actually already broke. The touchscreen doesn't work, so I gotta get it fixed. It's less than 3 months old. I spent $700 on this thing. I called them up. I'm like, y'all need to fix this. Put donations on YouTube. I think I will eventually. I actually have some exciting news too. This is pretty cool. I think eventually we'll put a donations page up because that all of this takes a lot of money to invest in, and we're gonna let people know if you support me, you can. We'll find a way to incentivize people with that. With every additional podcast, we'll probably thank all of the donations from the previous. So we'll come out with something. What I'm impressed about is that a company wants to help me develop a website because they want me to come out with the anime reviews and the video game reviews. And I'm looking really forward to that, to having my own website where you can come to my website for blog posts regarding anime, video games, and even things outside of that. I would like to talk about the medical field and science. So my podcast is not only going to be about video games and anime. It's going to kind of be like a Joe Rogan style where kind of anything can come up. And we'll talk about life, and we'll talk about the research and all that sort of stuff. So it'll be cool to have a website going. Things will be even more smoother when Darielle and I are living together. That'll happen probably July of next year. She's done with college, and she'll have her bachelor's degree, and she'll be traveling with me full time. And Darielle is not only is Darielle an avid video gamer, but Darielle is the biggest otaku fan. She knows more. She knows so much about Dragon Ball Z. She knows more about it than me. Like, she's not one of those girls who's like, oh, like every night me and Darielle and I are playing video games. She is the biggest Dragon Ball Z fan. I mean, like, she knows everything about Dragon Ball Z. She knows everything about Dragon Ball Ultra. Like, she's like a real anime fan. She doesn't do it for the like. She's just like low key, like super hardcore. And things will be easier when we're working together because she's gonna be able to help me out with some of that stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be lit. But it's not just going to be anime and video games. We're going to talk about some real things. We're going to talk about whatever you guys want to hear, whatever you guys want to see. And we're going to come out with a way where people who are donating, they receive exclusive sort of question and answers and sort of thing. We'll find a way because you have to fund everything. And I want to thank Call Me Duty because he's been helping me out with the thumbnails as well as Geisha. So we have a lot to do. I've been talking a lot about it. You guys have had to hear me talk of this game for many, many months now, but I've had to take a break. So you guys know I can't wait to do the podcast. But I do want better video quality. I don't like the video quality that you guys are seeing right now. I'm going to somehow get a camera that makes it look like as professional as possible. And I'm really, really looking forward to that. So everything in minor steps. Why is it that the ping issue is bad in certain places and better in others, and how easy it for the game creators to fix it? It depends on how close you are. First of all, it depends on your device. It depends on your internet connection, but it also depends on how far away you are from the server itself. So, but on that note, we're gonna end this podcast. I think it was fun. It feels really, really good to be on here. You guys saw a lot of my crude humor. Some of my analogies probably went too far, but they got the point across at the end of the day. Not trying to sugarcoat it. And I'm looking forward to doing this. I'm really excited about this. I feel very comfortable. I feel very happy. And I love seeing this. I have a green screen. My green screen is behind me. All right, guys, we're going to have a great podcast series. Just stick with me as we get better and better at this. And I hope you all know that I love you. You take care of yourselves and you remember something. And I want to end this podcast on this note. A lot of people sometimes, and I'm genuinely serious, a lot of people sometimes feel like they're not good enough for love or respect or admiration from the people around them. Something I want to remind you is that sometimes in psychology we tell you and we focus on the individual self. We always say, how's your mind thinking? What is it doing? Do you have insight? How is your judgment? But something that you have to remember is that I can take the most beautiful of organisms and put them in the most toxic environments and observe them under a microscope and watch those beautiful organisms perish. These organisms that were healthy, that were beyond the scope of other organisms, but when you put them in a toxic environment, one that is not sustainable, those organisms will not live. They will not live. And it takes, unfortunately, a lot of sacrifices in order for a species to adapt. So although adaptability is part of human evolution, it doesn't mean that the individual will always have the the capability to adapt to their individual environment. All I'm telling you is that you do not need to be a sacrifice for the overall species to learn how to adapt. Look at your environment and ask yourself, am I in a healthy environment? Sometimes we're a little too critical about the individual self. We look at ourselves and we take the crux of responsibility and say, am I happy or am I not? And we put the burden only on ourselves. And although it's very healthy to look at our individual selves and ask ourselves, how can we do better? How can we be healthy? How can we be good at, or great at communicating? How can we be good lovers and good friends? Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, is the reason why we feel inadequate because of the environment that we're in? And when you ask yourself that question, sometimes you can look at your individual self and give yourself a little bit of a relaxation sort of mentality, because sometimes we are too hard on ourselves. And I want you to know that even the strongest of organisms do not live in the most toxic environments. And I hope that you can learn that balance between looking at your individual self for growth and looking at the environment you're in and asking yourself, is it me? Can I adapt? Or are there things that I need to change about the environment around me to help me as an individual? And I hope that you all can learn that balance throughout your life. And I'm hoping that I can be part of that process. I love you all. You have a great evening. Y'all better looking than me. Y'all cute.